Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our scenario is called Fingerbiter. It was written by Michael Lebossiere, and you can find it in the Call of Cthulhu Miskatonic repository at the Drive-Thru RPG. This is going to be a two-shot. It is, I believe, the second time that we've run this. I am your game master, and this is episode 1. The characters in this story are all part of a sleuthing group appropriately called the Mousetrap Club. It investigates weird happenings and unsolved mysteries in and around London. Let's have them introduce themselves. Grant, why don't you go first?
All right, tonight I'm going to be playing Alfred Zurich. He is an alienist, a practicing psychiatrist in London. Originally from Boston, but came to England to study psychiatry at King's College London. He's a stable-minded person of strong will. He's got jet black hair, a bit of a receding hairline, round-framed eyeglasses, usually very well-dressed. He thinks that the human mind is the most complicated object that has yet been discovered in the universe, and that its capabilities have just barely been scratched. So that draws him naturally to become a psychologist and a psychiatrist. He's from the psychoanalytic tradition of Freud, and in fact, one of his treasured possessions is that he has a letter from Sigmund Freud that he usually keeps in his coat pocket. He's constantly analyzing other people, although he doesn't usually verbalize it. And he's good at sizing folks up and judging their character. He likes the Mousetrap Club because it gives him kind of professional cover to investigate unknown and mysterious things that, if his colleagues knew he was interested in, might besmirch his professional reputation. So that draws him into this group. That's Alfred Zurich.
All right, cool. Zane, why don't you go?
Evening, gentlemen. My name is Liam Buchanan. As you can probably see from my attire, I've never worked a proper day in my life. Yes, that's right. I come from family money. I met my fellow compatriots of the Mousetrap Club when I attended Harrow, where we all went as young boys. We made the club there. It started off that we just enjoyed reading all the adventure and mystery novels, and then one of my messmates, Xavier Cordova, decided he wanted to become a private investigator. And then one by one, we all started being dragged into his as consultants. Who does he think we are? Sherlock Holmes, for Christ's sake. But anyway, we all got involved, and all of a sudden, the Mousetrap Club became a real thing, and we've been solving crimes for a while. So back in Harrow, as I said, one of my messmates was Xavier Cordova, and the other was Alfred Zurich, who has now become one of those head doctors, sends people to the madhouse. And our other two friends, they were messmates together, was Professor Garrett and Edward Baker. I sort of sit around, drink all the expensive booze, and I was the captain of the shooting team as well. That's about it.
Magna,
as you were.
How about you go? Magna, you can go next.
Hello, so my name is Alexander Robert Garrett, or better known as Professor Garrett, as I am a professor of history at the University of London. Some people might find me peculiar, and in many ways, perhaps I am. I'm a lonely man, about 50 years old, and most of my spare time I spend engaging in my community. I'm a firm believer of the Education Act. This is something that has been very important for me over the past several years, and I hope for a quick implementation into our society for the benefit of education, especially with young children. I am in the Mousetrap Club because, frankly, I don't have too many friends. I've been quite a lonely man ever since my lover died 20 years ago. So these days, I can either be found at the location of the Mousetrap Club or in the Regent's Park, which is also a very fun location. I'm a sharp dresser, not in the dandy way, but more in a dignified professor kind of way. I'm known for my ice blue stares, and my students constantly say that it's possible to hide anything from the professor unless you meet his gaze.
Excellent. Simon, you want to go next? Unmute.
Hello, my name is Edward Baker. I'm really a simple guy. I don't really stand out in any circumstances. What really stands more about me, reason why I'm not completely fading in the distance and anything like that, is I have passion in general, and it shows. I am kind of connected to my tarot cards. I use them quite a bit, and yeah, I like my son, my family. Despite being young, I'm just 20.
Okay.
Yeah,
Josh.
that's about it.
Cool. Josh.
All right. Let's keep it short and sweet. I'm Xavier Cordova, Private Eye. I'm kind of in charge of the Mousetrap Club, you know, all that jazz. I'm joined with my compatriots. We've got this. We're gonna help an old friend or something like that. I don't know. I let the others do all the big words things. I just keep to the investigating stuff. So let's go onto our journey.
All right. So having gotten that out of the way, let's begin our journey into the darkness. Our story begins in late May. The year is 1925. It's early evening, and there is a light rain that's falling. Members of the Mousetrap Club are gathered in the sitting room of Dr. Alfred Zurich. He has called you all together to discuss a letter that he received this afternoon.
Gentlemen, I received this letter from an old friend that has quite alarmed me. I think the contents may interest you. Allow me to read it. My dear Alfred, it's been quite a while since last we corresponded, and I hope this letter finds you in good health. I only recently heard about the passing of your wife, and I am very sorry. My dear friend, I need your immediate help. I am in serious peril. I cannot turn to the local authorities as they would think me mad and probably have me locked up. What I need is someone with an open mind and a keen eye. In case you didn't know, I'm no longer living in London. I began a personal journey some months ago to conduct genealogical research on my family. This has led me finally to the small village of Denval in North Scotland. My research has been difficult, and now I have met with a terrible accident. At first, I was dismissive of the gravity of my experience, but now I know the foulness is undeniable. I must ask your help in this matter, for I feel that you are the only one that might save me from this horror. If you can, bring assistance, some members of your club who might be able to discover what is happening to me and how to stop it. Come quickly, please. He ends that with an exclamation mark. Sincerely, Clarence Mcdougall. Well, as you can see from the tone of it, why this letter from a personal friend has me concerned. And while I recognize that you gentlemen may not have a personal interest, the vague allusions to a mystery I thought would surely pique your interests.
Well, it is quite an
Definitely.
upsetting letter, I would say. But Scotland.
Oh,
Well, we
Scotland's
would have
lovely
to
this
be
time of
up
year,
for some
Professor.
travel.
Well, it's
And definitely
dreadful weather up there.
Do not worry, gentlemen. It's always dreadful weather up here. Do not worry,
Yeah.
gentlemen. I'll make sure we travel in first class.
Always
Nice.
coming through for us, Mr. Buchanan.
Thank you.
Oh, not a problem, Alfie. Not a problem.
This letter is quite upsetting, I would say. The foulness he was speaking of?
It's all very vague. He talks about dismissing something, but recognizing how foul it is now. I really don't know. I mean, I've known him for quite some time. I've always had a lot of respect for him. He's a bit of a loner. He comes from a very wealthy family. Always traveling and to far off regions. I've actually lost contact with him for the last few years. I don't know him to be a man who exaggerates.
But so I will try to say this respectfully, but judging from the letter, because it is a rather peculiar letter, I would say. Are you sure that he has all the horses in the stable, so to say?
What might you be hinting at, Professor?
Oh, nothing. Just never mind. It's just a question.
You're the head
It
doctor,
is-
Alfie. You tell us. Is your friend mad?
Always such a discreet gentleman, aren't you?
From what you know of him, Alfred, he's always been a very clear-headed, sober individual.
And if he has gone mad, that certainly might be of interest as well. But it would surprise me. I wouldn't be surprised if he's onto something strange.
Well,
Think
if he
about
is
this
mad,
strange-
then all the more reason to help him, I would say.
I don't know what your time is like, but I'm actually keen to make this trip sooner rather than later.
Talking about strange stuff, I'm gonna use my tarot cards and, well, trying to see what they tell me.
Okay.
And while thinking about what has been said in that letter.
Why
While
don't
he's
you?
doing that, I'll go book some some compartments on the sleeper train to Scotland.
All right, that's the Flying Scotsman, is the train. We'll get back to the tarot in a moment. When you look at the schedule and the train, this is pretty much the route that you will be taking. Denval is all the way up at the very top of
In the
Scotland.
Highlands.
You'll take the Flying Scotsman to Inverness, and then from there you'll have to take a smaller train to. It's actually won't be able to go directly to Denval. You'll have to go to a couple of little towns before that, and then get a ride or take a bus or something to Denval. It's very small. All right.
Well, I'll make all those arrangements while they're doing that.
So, Edward, you pull out your tarot cards and you shuffle them, and you think about the situation. And the first card that comes up is that.
Ominous.
It's the Tower upside down, which is not such a great one. The next card, the Six of Swords.
Okay.
And the third one, the Magician, upside down. It's probably enough. We won't do a whole reading. My tarot cards. Yeah, that seems a little disturbing.
I'm I'm gonna just look at the cards and be kind of focused on them for a bit of time. In a very, yeah, simply concentrated matter.
All right. So it doesn't take Liam very long before he comes back. He's got first-class tickets on the Flying Dutchman, leaving actually early in the morning, somewhere around 2 in the morning. However, the trip is still going to take about 14 hours.
It's a sleeping train, obviously, so we
Right.
get beds.
But you also have time between now. It's only about 6 in the evening right now. If you want to put anything together to take on the trip with you, obviously you're going to want to take clothes. Clarence is staying at an inn. So there's probably room at the inn. The Red Boar is the name of the inn. In Denval.
I've never been that far north. Have any of you gentlemen been to this Denval area?
I've
No,
been to
it's just
Denval, but
London.
I've been to Inverness.
Yeah, I've been to Inverness as well.
Yeah.
Grizzly case up there.
Well, I went up there for a retreat. I went there for shooting steers and stuff.
I think maybe we had a guest professor from Denval at one time at University of London, but I don't know the place.
Well, this all intrigues me, gentlemen, and I am glad we will go on this trip. I don't know, something about that letter from your friend Alfred, it just really gets me. It gets my mind going that there's got to be something more to this, and I really want to check it out. So I'm with you all the way, Alfred, don't you worry.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Xavier, and I figured you would be in with the. If there's danger involved, you're usually the first to raise your hand.
Of course,
Excuse me?
Daisy's my middle name.
There is danger involved? We didn't discuss this.
Definitely. From what my cards tell me, from the tower upside down, the 6 of swords and the foul upside down, that doesn't seem like something other than ominous.
Oh my.
So what you're saying, Edward, is we need to be careful, going by your card malarkey.
That's what my cards tell me. Cards.
Oh. Well, keep
And you
that in
went
mind.
there to do some research on his family. Do you know the gentleman's family?
I know that he comes from a wealthy family, but I never met either his
Money?
parents. Yes,
Would I know of the family being in rich family circles?
Not necessarily. I think they were based in Virginia.
Oh, so they're American. Okay.
Yeah. They were Americans.
Cute. Well, I've never heard of them, and so they can't be that rich.
Well, I mean, you would know if they were.
Yes, I will.
I just know that
hang around in packs.
Clarence never had to work a day in his life. He was always taken care of in financial ways, but
All right.
So,
How would you guys like to prepare before you go? Xavier, you were about to talk. Sorry.
no, that's fine. You continue. Voice in my head.
Well, what would you do? What are you going to do before you go?
I'm gonna pack light because it's what I do. So I'll just pack light. I'll have my revolver. Obviously, I'm not gonna bring, and probably my cost just in case. I'll bring them with me. Anyway, I'm not gonna bring anything too heavy because I'm not really expecting danger. It's just as a precaution.
I think I'm gonna go the same way. I have an encyclopedia at home, but I don't want to abuse of the offer of Mr. Buchanan. So I'm gonna leave it there.
Professor?
Well, I mean, all my students are now actually engaged in some field work that I already gave them last week. So for me, it's just a matter of packing some suits. And oh, and it's the weekend, isn't it? So that would require some dinner attire, but yeah, and some wax for my mustache, of course. I mean, it's just a small trip, right? We're supposed to be back in a couple of days, so yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
What day is it today?
We'll say it's Friday.
Okay. I am going to go home. You said it was about 6. I'm going to shoot home, and I'm going to get my servants to pack a bag and all that sort of stuff for me. And then I'm going to get dressed and go to the opera. And
What
then
opera are you going to go see?
La Traviata.
Good choice.
Yes, I'll go to La Traviata. Then I'll make my way back, put on the clothes that's been laid out for me, and make my way over to the station to meet up with the others. Exhausted as usual.
Yeah, I'll have probably gone to a bar actually, because I'm only packing light, so I'd have gone to a bar and probably just sat there.
I'm gonna do some research about my 3 cards that I drew and tell my family that I won't be here for 2 days or potentially more. I don't know.
Okay.
So that they are aware of the fact that I won't be there.
In your research, the tower can mean disaster.
Okay.
It's difficult. It really has to go by your own gut feeling what it might mean.
Okay.
The same with the 6 of Swords. Swords is usually violence of some sort. The 10 of Swords is the worst card. That's really bad. This is a 6 of Swords, and then the Bateleur, the magician we say in English. It has to do with something supernatural that might be involved.
Okay.
Now, for those people who are listening, I don't know anything about tarot, so don't text me and say that's what I'm saying it means.
I mean the fowl has the same idea, but in another way. So yeah.
There's always a way. It's going to have to do with the way you feel inside when you
Yeah.
see things. All right.
So I'm going to go home as well and not pack anything particularly special, just my notebook and the Derringer. I'm thinking about Clarence. I'm going to dig through some shoe boxes of correspondence and so forth, dig out any old letters just to sort of reacquaint myself with the last time that I corresponded with him. I might also, I've got in the living room, I have a small library of travel and history books. I just want to look and see if I've got anything perhaps on northern Scotland and this village in particular, if there's something unique about it or history to it that might be mentioned.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and do a library roll?
A 33, that's a success.
Okay. Well, you don't get anything in particular about Denval. It shows up on some maps and it doesn't show up on others, just depending on how detailed the map is. You can see from some of it, you can see that the Flying Dutchman, the Flying Scotsman goes up to Inverness, and then there are railroads going out from there, but they're more rural and much smaller. and that it looks like the nearest town to Denval is Hellheim, which is about 10 miles from Denval. A lot of the villages and towns in the Highlands were built around structures. So maybe there's lots of castle ruins and things like that all over the place. Makes it a very picturesque area to be. Other than that, the land is pretty stark, lots of grass, lots of rock, not as many trees. There's so many Scottish families that have history there. It's difficult to focus in on anything, but you don't find anything about the Mcdougalls in general. So if he says that's where his ancestors may have come from, he's been doing a lot of difficult research to get to that point.
Okay.
All right. So you all arrive at the train. The Flying Scotsman is fairly, well appointed, and the trip is going to take you 14 hours. You get up to Inverness, and it takes another couple of hours. Well, it takes 14 hours total. So you've gotten there. You've gotten on another smaller train that's taken you to the village of Hellheim. And you've gotten off the train in Hellheim. You are 10 miles away from Denval, but there doesn't seem to be any connection or bus or anything. People have cars in this town. It's a fairly small town. You think Denval's probably a lot smaller. There are a few. There's a main road with some industrial buildings, and it looks like their main industry might be wool. There's a couple of wool plants and things like that. But it's a pretty primitive village otherwise. Not a lot of luxuries. It may be that, as you're cruising down the street, you can guess that, there's a couple of small hotels and restaurants. There might be some street walkers over there, and, it's small. But you don't immediately have any way to get to Denval unless you want to walk 10 miles. What would you like to do?
What time of day did you say we arrived?
You arrive in Hellheim at 4 p.m.
Okay.
The question is, do we want to go to Denval tonight? Because
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it is almost dinner time, so maybe it would not be a terrible idea to stay here for the night. At the same time, I do have to get back no later than Tuesday, so maybe we also should get to it. Are there any hotels here? Do you know if there's any hotels in Dublin?
You can see there's a couple of small hotels.
Well,
I
yeah,
would say
let's flip a coin then. So I'll pull out. I'll have some kind of coin, and I'm gonna do. I'll just do highs and lows on a dice. So highs, heads, tails, lows. Heads will go. Will carry on to Duval. Tails will stay here the night. We're heading on. Let's go find someone with a car, and I can throw some money at them.
All right. Well, that's actually not that hard to do.
Yeah.
In fact, as you're standing there trying to figure out what to do, some, 20-year-old in a truck stops for a moment at a stop sign, and he's right there, and you say, "Hello, would you like to take us? Here's some
Hello,
money."
good sir.
He's like, "Yeah, what do you want?" Yeah.
Could you please take me and my ruffians friends here up to Denval. We've got some. We've got to go to what was the inn called, Alfred? The Boar.
Red Boar.
The Red Boar. Could you take us up to the
You
Red
want to
Boar?
go to Denval, eh? Okay.
That's the one. Yes.
Well, climb aboard.
All right.
And so he's nice enough to take you to Denval. Denval is smaller, mostly houses, huts, farms, lots of sheep that you can see. There's sheep farms around. There is a small inn, 2 stories, made mostly out of stone, and it's got a red boar as a sign that's hanging in front of it. It looks warm and inviting, even though the weather is it's chilly. It's very chilly outside. Also, I'd like you. It's late afternoon. I'd like you all to do a spot hidden roll.
Oh,
So regular success.
that's an
11.
extreme success.
That's a big old fail.
All right.
11, it's a hard.
So those of you who failed, you're looking at the inn. It's a nice looking little inn. Those of you who passed, you notice that the road continues up a little ways, up onto some grassy hills, and there is the ruins of what looks like a large stone building that has crumbled. You don't know if it was a castle, a keep, a tower, or whatever.
I do a history check on the ruins.
Does that look recent or
No,
more ancient? Okay.
it looks like what you'd expect in Scotland, like an old castle or keep that's fallen down. Professor, you don't find any information on it at all. But then again, like I said, there's so many of these out here in the Highlands that's not surprising.
I've got to ask you a question, Edward. You're into the
Occult
spooky,
kind of stuff.
supernatural,
You can
yeah,
say
that
it.
kind of, yeah, the dodgy stuff, yeah. So what do you get from that ruin up there? Do you get a feeling? Do you see anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get what I feel from it, and as usual, when I do that, drawing the cards.
Well, it is a tower.
I don't feel something specific from it. From here, at least.
You're not sure. Yeah. Except that it is odd that your first card was a tower, and there's possibly a ruined tower right there.
This is effectively odd that I drew first the tower, and we found a broken tower here, but I don't especially feel something special from it.
Wait. Yes, I'm getting a feeling from it as well. Yeah, it's a pile of rocks. Go to bed.
All right, gentlemen, this is enough horsing around. Let's head into the inn.
Yeah, I would kill for a pint right now.
All right. You step inside, and it is warm. It's warm and inviting. There's a fire going in the fireplace. There are a couple of people sitting down here, drinking, reading, eating, just sort of enjoying the evening. Everybody turns and looks as you step inside. And a gentleman behind a desk comes over. Yes, gentlemen, would you be staying overnight? Do you need a room?
Oh, hello. The name is Alfred Zurich. We're calling upon a tenant of yours, Clarence Mcdougall. But yes, sir, we will be staying the evening.
Okay. When you say his name, this look comes over his face of surprise, and he sort of looks up like this. He says, "You say you're here to see Mcdougall?"
Yes, is that a problem, sir?
No. It's just that he's finally quieted down a bit. He's on the second floor, room 8.
Is he
What do you-
sick?
Well,
what do you-
he's making a lot of racket a lot of the time, a lot of noise.
How long has he been staying here?
A couple of weeks. Him and the other boy.
I'll break off at this point and kind of rush up to the second floor to room 8 just to check on my friend.
All right.
Someone should go with Alfred. I'll sort the rooms.
Yeah, I'll just have my key, please. Thank you.
As a quick note, has he talked about strange things or anything like that?
Oh, I don't talk to him, sir. But he's been disturbing the guests. Now, there's nothing I can do about that if you want to stay here. But there's no place else in Denval to stay.
I followed Alfred.
Okay. We've
Yeah,
had a
I'm
few
gonna
guests
follow
leave because of the noise. But you know,
When I'm booking, doing the rooms and everything, I'm making sure my room is the furthest away.
all right. We'll just say they give you 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Make it easy. Okay.
Perfect.
And Clarence is in 8. All right. Alfred is first up the stairs. He walks down the hallway. By the way, the inn is very nice. Very rustic, very nice. You walk down the hallway, and just as you are about to get to the door, you can hear a noise through the door. Oh God! Oh. And you can hear steps. The floors are wooden floors. You can hear that somebody is moving around in the room. As you get to the door.
I'll go to the door and knock. Clarence, it's Alfred. It's Alfred. Oh, open the door.
You hear steps come across the floor, and the door opens, and it opens, this much, and a gentleman kind of sticks his face out. He looks like he is maybe in his mid-20s, rather handsome, young, clean cut, dressed in a turtleneck sweater. And he's like, yes, who are you? Do a spot hidden.
A 43, but I'd like to burn 3 points of luck and make that roll.
Okay. You can see somebody who looks like Clarence in a bed on the other end of the room. Who are you?
Alfred Zurich, a friend of Mr. Mcdougall's.
Oh yes, he wrote you.
Yes.
All right. My name is David. Please.
And this is Xavier, a friend of mine.
Nice to meet you,
David. What's wrong with Clarence?
Oh well, he can tell you himself. Please come inside. And you can see Clarence, and Clarence is lying there in bed, and you can see that his hand is bandaged up, and he's gripping his hand like this, and he's going, "Oh God, oh." And David says, "Clarence, your friends have come from London." And he's like, "What? Oh my God, Alfred, I'm so glad you're here." And David just sort of stands over to the side and lets you in.
Clarence, what's going on? Are you ill? Have you injured yourself?
Oh, what a horrible thing. You've brought some people with you. By now, the rest of you have worked your way up the stairs. You probably heard the noise upstairs of the wailing. Please, all of you, come inside. Hopefully it'll stop in a moment.
What will stop? What is wrong with you?
Please come inside. And I suppose I should explain everything to you. See, it might surprise you to know that besides all of the research that I've done in my life, history and so forth, I knew nothing about my family, my own family history. In fact, when I checked, it seemed that my family history began in the United States somewhere around 1783. I know that doesn't sound very odd, but since so many people started in the United States, they didn't always keep track of their ancestors before that. I don't know if you know it, Alfred, but my family, but they're very wealthy. Their wealth comes from gold. My family has had a very large amount of gold, and it has lasted all of this time. Through my research, I finally managed to trace my ancestors all the way back to this village. And I set out at once to come here to see what I could learn about my family. And now I greatly regret it. You see, oh God. He reaches for his whiskey.
What is wrong with you, man? Come on. What is wrong with your hand? Spit it out.
I've lost a finger, and
Clarence, have you seen a doctor? Is this just some homemade bandage?
No, I saw a doctor.
Did we come all the way here because you lost a finger?
You don't understand. I came here in search of my family history, and I found way more than I bargained for. You see, I don't know if you saw it or not, but there are ruins up on the hill. That was at one time my ancestral home, something that I was not aware of, but was built a long time ago, and I wanted to go and see it. You see, I suspected that there might still be gold there, and the villagers warned me not to go there at night, but I did, and there was something. I was in the dark, in the shadows, in the ruins, and I could hear something moving inside the stones, and then there was something like a rat, but bigger than a rat, and it came from the stones, and I didn't get a good look at it. It moved very fast, and it was nighttime, and something yanked my hand, and before I knew it, my finger was severed from my body, and I staunched the flow of blood with the handkerchief, and I came back to the village, and my assistant, David, there, he took me to Hellheim, to the doctor, and the doctor, he did a good job of stitching it up, but the thing is, I can still feel my finger, and something is gnawing on it.
You can still feel your finger?
I can feel it, and it's gnawing on it, and it hurts.
You're saying a big like rat bit your finger off?
I told the doctor I could still feel the finger, and he told me about phantom limbs, that people, when they cut off their hand, they can sometimes still feel them.
Yeah, it's Clarence. Just calm down. It's a quite a common occurrence.
No. I don't just feel itching. I feel like something is chewing on my finger.
Right.
What do I feel from him? Anger or fear?
Terror, yeah. Terror and excruciating pain. Right. And he's like, he says, if I don't find some way to make it stop, I think madness is going to overtake me. The only thing I can think of is I need the finger back. You've got to find that finger. You've got to find what took my finger.
Clarence,
get it back to me.
Clarence, calm down. Try collect yourself. Could I try like a psychoanalysis roll just to calm Clarence at this point?
Sure.
So
I finally made it up now from down the thing, so I'm stepping in now.
I'm here to search for a finger. I've done weirder cases, but a giant rat thing, whatever, finger. Edward, I think this is in your spooky area of expertise or whatever it is.
Who would be dumb enough to lose a finger?
All right, gentlemen, let's give him a bit of time. We'll get to the bottom of all of this. It was a success on the psychoanalysis.
Okay. You managed to calm him somewhat. The other people in the room can do I guess a spot hidden or a psychology on David.
Definitely psychology. I have much
Either. They're both the same.
86.
Regular
Got
pass.
a 5.
I'll go psychology because they're both the same. So psychology.
Okay. Xavier, you get the impression that David's being very patient, but he's a little impatient. Liam, you get the impression, because you got a really good roll, that David's concerned, but he kind of thinks it's all nonsense. That he might be going a little crazy.
I missed a lot of pretty much everything the guy said, so I just think like, okay, cool, yeah.
Alfred, he takes your hand with his good hand, and he's like, please, you have to get it back for me. Please, you have to get it back. I'll go insane.
Clarence, you're gonna have to give me more than this. What information do you have about this tower?
You weren't here long enough for me to collect any information. I was too eager just to get out there to the tower and take a look for myself. Everybody warned me.
Do you want me to take a look at that finger? I've got some medical training.
If you want to, the thing is that I think the villagers know things. They must know things that they didn't say. They just told me not to do it, not to go up there at night.
I'm going to roll with the punches here, and you say you can feel your finger. Can you feel where your finger are?
No.
No.
Whatever it is it's tearing at my finger. And he suddenly calls out loudly.
I look around at the others. I didn't bring a sedative or anything.
Well, and you can see he's drinking.
I was going to say, I think he's been drinking a sedative.
It's not helping.
And I'm when
gonna
he
ask
takes
him-
another swig, I'm actually going to say to David, I think he said his name was. I'm going to say, how much of that has he been having?
Well, he's only filled the flask once today. It's whiskey, but
Yeah, that
yes,
might get to his head at some point.
I don't want it to get out of hand.
Yes.
It shouldn't be drinking that much. He's not used to it.
Well, on top of that, before he drinks out too much, I'm gonna ask him, do you remember how big that rat was? And I'm gonna give him some measurements.
It's too dark. It was too dark. That's
Okay.
It was a flash and fur and something bit my finger off.
What do you know of the ruins? You said this was the home of your ancestors.
It was a Mcdougall Tower, but it
Dougal Tower.
it fell down a long time ago from the looks of it.
I would like to get a look at the wound.
If he's
All right.
taking the bandage off, I'm out of here.
You take the bandage off. There is a little bit of bleeding directly around the missing finger, and it is his ring finger that is missing. So if I was grabbing the wrong hand, whatever. The finger is missing from the knuckle out, so it's just that's left. You can see that it's been carefully stitched up by a physician. So the bleeding is just leaking a little bit from the wound, but looks like it's actually been a pretty good job has been done on stitching it up. And in those moments when he's showing it to you, if he has, let's say, a minor attack, it's not this part that he's talking about. It's this part that he's and he's grasping to as if he could stop it by grabbing it, but there's nothing there. So, you know.
So Clarence, you're convinced that your missing finger is being gnawed on by this rat-like creature that is in this tower, and you would like us to go.
Yes,
Fine.
please, or I will lose my mind. I can't sleep.
I'm gonna pull everyone a step back just to have a little bit of privacy and.
Do you want
Are
to
we
leave the
sure?
room? The room's
No,
kind of
just
small.
Okay, yeah. Maybe it would be good for us to have a chat outside.
Okay.
Well,
Does that
if
include
I-
Alfred or just the
Yeah.
other guys?
Well, I
I'm
kind
already
of
out in the hall because I left before the
Right,
bandage
right.
came off.
Well,
Yeah.
if you want some privacy, I can go outside if you want.
I think he wants to talk to you in the hallway.
Yeah.
So-
I'm just gonna go into the hallway and talk to Liam and whoever is
I'll
coming
be
with
out
me.
here.
Yeah, I
Because
want to
I-
step out with you too.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, if you all look like you're going to step out for a moment, then David takes over, and he goes over and he gets like a cold compress and does Clarence's forehead.
Okay, hold tight, Clarence. Hold tight.
I just feel that he's
So,
now.
gentlemen, I seem to have missed quite a bit of what was going on. He's lost a finger.
He lost the finger
Yes.
and he claims that a giant rat is currently gnawing on his finger somewhere and he wants us to find it. So my question is he completely bonkers? Should we investigate it? I mean, we did stranger things in the past. That is true. I just don't want to waste our time in case he is cuckoo.
Well, I mean, in my professional opinion, and in interviewing him, and the way that he's grasping the finger, and in other cases, and the history that I know with the man, I really don't think that he's crazy. It's a crazy story, don't get me wrong, but the man himself does not strike me as insane.
Does
And
he
we
look
also
tired?
Does he look tired? Yes. He looks
Yeah.
exhausted.
On top of that, he's looking really tired, more so than a normal rat bite. You know, I know that in France they have rats of that size without the tail, and those can bite hard, but not to enough to inflict that kind of pain, except if there's a disease or something like that.
Well, even if he's fucking crazy, we
Which
could
he
go
is.
check. We could go
Yeah,
check it out.
yeah.
It's not gonna harm if we go up there. We don't have to be looking out for a finger, but clearly something happened to him when he went
Well,
up there. So.
it's too late now. Dinner will be ready soon, so we'll have dinner and we'll go out first thing in the morning. We can't be
Yeah.
digging around there in the middle of the night. But
No,
go
it's
by
true.
daylight so we can see things properly.
I agree.
And we didn't have a proper dinner yet either, so it's do they have food? Does anyone
Yes.
know? Did anyone check? Okay, good,
Yeah.
good.
It's an
I'm-
inn, so yes, they have food.
It's an inn, not a prison.
Well,
if in fact Clarence is under the influence of some kind of psychosis, if we actually could retrieve the finger and him see it, it might snap him out of this crazy story that he has concocted in his head. So regardless, I think we can do the man some good.
Yeah, that is true, but I've just got, like, maybe we could in the morning go and check it out, but I feel to get the actual kind of false immersion to actually be able to picture what happened to him, we might have to go in at night, so we can really. I like to be personal with my cases, so being in his shoes, nighttime, going there, I'd definitely be able to get a sense of really what
Well,
might have happened to him.
If you
Enjoy
want to go to
yourself.
that tower, I'm
If you
gonna
get
go
in
with
trouble, yeah, we're close enough to there. I'll probably hear you.
I don't mean to. Maybe we could go in the morning, and then we check it out. We do a bit of scout, but then we go back at night, or maybe not all of us, but some of us. I'm not going
definitely
right
going
now.
there. Definitely going there. The 6 of swords is actually connected to violence, so potentially to pain. I have to think about that during the night.
Do you know what else the Six of Swords pertains to? A piece of paper! Stop it with the bloody cards, Edward!
Liam,
Always the same argument, eh?
calm yourself. He believes in his malarkey. You believe in your malarkey. Leave him to it.
Liam, have
But my
some
malarkey's
food.
been aged for 12 years and smells amazing.
Yeah, that too.
Calm down, eat steak, enjoy yourself, and I'm sure you will feel easier about the cards once you're fed. You know how you get when you get hungry.
True. That is
Let's
true.
all go downstairs and
Yes.
and get something
I've
to eat.
sorted all of our rooms out and I'll hand out everyone the keys to their rooms and stuff like that.
Beautiful rooms. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm curious what the locals say of this Mcdougall Tower.
Is there a library or some collection of books in the inn?
Maybe some light reading or newspapers or things like that, but nothing heavy. What you could see as you came into the town is there's not much more, like I said, than the inn, a few buildings, maybe a couple of shops, maybe a church up on, at one end of the town, probably Church of Scotland. But other than that, it's pretty small. It's not deserted either. You do see farmers and sheep farmers here and there and so forth. But it's not it's barely got electricity.
Maybe we could have a chat with the innkeeper while we wait for our dinner.
Okay.
That makes sense.
All right. So you go downstairs, and the innkeeper seats you in the near the fireplace. It's nice and warm, and the food is rustic. Lots of lamb.
They're haggis.
Yeah, they would because that sheep stomach. So.
All right, I'm having haggis. Got to get into the mood of it all, my friends. You know.
No, I'm not having haggis. Sorry.
It's
Maybe
not
tomorrow.
that bad.
If you survive tonight, I'll have some tomorrow.
It's not that
I mean,
bad.
if there is a
Garrett.
specialty here, I'm definitely going for the specialty.
The specialty is whatever they happen to be cooking. It's usually stew.
And have some
Stew and homemade
haggis.
bread.
Come on.
Let's go with it.
You only live once. You might as well have some haggis.
Just nothing
Fine.
with fingers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, where have you folks come from? So, so where have you folks come from? Sorry,
London, sir.
my Scottish accents might be horrible, but
That's quite all right. We're from London, lad. And I am doing a Scottish accent back at him.
yeah. Why are you pretending to be a Scotsman when I know that you're an Englishman?
Well, it just seems more fun, lad. And you know, I've probably got some Scottish in my background, so it's all right.
Your voice is grating on my ears.
All right.
Where do you folks come from? You obviously came from London.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's with Mr. Mcdougal upstairs? He comes in a couple of days ago with his buddy, and yeah, got his finger bitten off, so he says. That seems rather appropriate, don't you think?
Well,
Considering
Considering what?
Considering what?
considering the legend of the nine-fingered Mcdougals.
The 9 fingers.
Oh,
Oh, you're going to have to elaborate.
So
Well,
here's that. I look at Alfred and I'm like, oh, his family history, there's nothing wrong with them. They're not mad. You've got some explaining to do, buddy.
well, I wouldn't say that, nobody.
Definitely focus on the healthy story.
The story goes that the Mcdougals, they were originally a well-respected family. They moved up here. They rose to a position of great prominence with their wealth and their trading. They did shipping, and they built the tower up on the hill. You probably saw the ruins as you came in. The village prospered, grew up around them, and then madness came to the tower. Apparently, they all went stark raving mad and ended up dying all within the space of a few months of each other. And sometime just before that happened, old Andrew Mcdougal found gold on the property. And that's apparently where their wealth came from. Seems that they had cousins who, like you, were in London. And they came up and they took care of the place once the others were dead. And one night the whole place blew sky high, like a bomb went off. And the American cousin, the survivor, he gave money to the church and then left for the United States.
And when was that?
Oh, 1700s sometime. I don't know. There's probably more records of the stuff in the church records, maybe.
Can I ask you, and this might sound like a strange question, but is there any talk of rats, of big rats around the ruins?
We told Mcdougal not to go anywhere near those ruins during the nighttime.
Because of the rats.
It's dangerous. Yes, there's some people say there's lots of rats up there. And I am just not surprised that he got his finger bit off. Though I can't imagine a rat big enough to do that. It's not the first time we've heard of people losing fingers over there.
Oh.
well,
So if you listen to me, don't go anywhere near that place at night.
But in the
Don't go there
daytime,
at night.
it's okay.
Did you hear that, Xavier? Not at night.
Yes, but we have. But to really get the
Shut
feel,
it.
we've got to go at night.
You've been warned.
Sir, pardon me the
Thank you.
question, but I know that in France there is rats about that big, but do you know approximately how big the rats may be around here?
Well, honest to God, I haven't seen anything much larger than a small rat around here, but who knows? Who knows what evil lurks up there in those ruins?
What interests me though is what could have made the explosion? What could have made it blown up? Was
Yes.
it
I don't know.
natural explosion or?
Oh, no,
It
I
sounded
don't
like
think
a
so.
bomb or
I don't
something.
think so. I think, the ground up there is all blasted and burnt. Nothing grows up there. No grass, no flowers, nothing.
Right. So
Something blew it sky high.
That is
Just
all.
before that fellow left for the United States.
do you think possibly he might have done it on purpose?
Who
Yeah,
knows?
Maybe
We're
to
talking a couple of 100 years ago, so
cover something up.
That's what I was thinking, Xavier.
That's usually why
Yes.
people blow things up. In most cases, people blow things up to hide
And then get
a
out
secret.
of town. Yeah.
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 well,
Yeah, it's
plenty of people
interesting.
have snuck up there and looked around to see if they could find some sort of secret cache of gold, but so far,
So just to clarify, the Mcdougall family line has a history of madness.
well, I think that's what the rumor is.
Right. Yes. Alfred, I think you need to change your job because you're not very good at this.
Well, thank you for
He's
your
not
information.
mad.
Thank you for your information. We appreciate it.
This Tagus is lovely.
You mentioned the nine-fingered McDougal. Now, how did they get that name?
Part of their madness, apparently they all chopped off their own fingers. At least that's the rumor.
That's the
Which
story.
finger is being chopped off in this rumor?
I have no idea.
Okay.
They say that. I'm gonna take a look at the third card I drew at the beginning, the magician, and stare at it. Something.
Well, it is it has to do with magic, so who knows? Assuming that your tarot cards are actually telling you anything at all.
Are there any other guests in the inn dining
No,
currently?
afraid we had a couple of guests the other day. We had a guest a couple of weeks ago, a traveling salesman. Other than that, no, nothing at all. Now that Mr. Mcdougall is up there howling away, nobody wants to stay. They stay a night and then they move on.
No, it might be worth, Alfred, seeing if we can get your friend back to London where he could have some proper medical attention and things, and also to help this this man's business seems to be not doing too well because of him.
Yes.
So possibly we should look into getting him moved and headed back. I'm sure David can travel with him and get him back safely enough.
The only thing I am concerned about is that if he really has gone mad, as you put it, I would call it a psychosis of some kind, centered on this missing finger. It actually might help for him to see the finger.
But we could still find the finger and get it back to him. But
transporting him in the state that he's in, I would recommend against it.
Well, how long are you expecting to keep him there then? Because
if we're up in the
on
morning
their
to look in the tower, we very well may be able to discover the finger for first thing in the morning. And if there's nothing more to it except that poor Clarence has gone off the deep end, then that will be the end of it.
Well, I'll tell you what. If we don't find the finger tomorrow, as you say, and we'll do a proper search, then tomorrow we'll organise transportation for him and David to get him back to London where he can have help.
We'll at least revisit it in that circumstance.
Yeah. I'll pay for everything. Don't worry about that.
I was just wondering because it's interesting your theory here that he might be concerned with his finger, and even though he cannot feel someone gnawing at his finger, getting the finger back would ease his mind, so to say. But could it also be a solution to tell him that we saw the finger and it's lost and it's definitely not being eaten?
That is a way to potentially putting him out of a fake
Because if it's all
illness.
in his mind, then if we convince him the
Yeah.
finger is safe, then maybe we can help him. I do feel for him.
I mean, that would certainly be an alternative that we could consider if we don't discover the finger.
Well, it's getting late. Let's head to bed. We'll meet tomorrow morning, and we'll head up to the tower. How's that sound, gentlemen?
Yes.
Xavier
Yes.
gets up and walks across the room. You notice that he's walking over towards someone sitting in a chair, and you realize that it's David. He must have come down the stairs when you guys were chatting. He's reading a little book.
I take a seat beside him.
Oh,
Hello.
you're one of Clarence's friends. What can I do for you?
Yeah, actually, I was a little bit intrigued. What are you reading, if you don't mind me asking?
H.G. Wells.
Oh. Well,
I don't mind.
I'm not much of a book guy, but that's an interesting. It's interesting.
It's a good book. Clarence is calmed down somewhat, probably from the alcohol.
That's good.
He should rest for a couple of hours at least before he starts up again.
Could I ask you, really, just a question? Can I get your side of the story? What happened?
Well, we arrived. I'm his friend, but also his assistant. He likes to do a lot of research. We arrived here. I was setting things up, and he was asking people questions. I don't know what, but he came up and told me that he was going to go up to the ruins. I didn't have any opinion one way or the other. I wasn't aware that people had told him not to go up there at night. I sat down to read, and before I knew it, he came running in, and he was bleeding all over the place. And
Okay.
he had me run him to Hellheim, to the doctor, Dr. McIntosh. By the way.
Just as a little query, did he ask you to stay, or did you choose to stay? Why didn't you go with him that night?
Oh, I didn't know he was actually going up there in the
Oh,
dark.
okay. So he kind of snuck out.
Well,
Basically, kind of.
Mr. McDougall does what he wants, and if he
That's
needs
fair.
me, he calls for me.
I know someone a little bit like that does what they want.
Well, it's not the way that it sounds. It's well, like I say, we're friends. I've been traveling with him for quite a while now.
Has he been acting weirdly before this, or was he
No,
just
no, I
after
would
going
say
up then?
he seemed to me perfectly normal, rather intense at times, very passionate about history and things like that. No, I would say that his current behavior is quite bizarre, quite different. The gnawing thing
Yeah.
that developed a little while later. See, I took him to the doctor to have him stitch him up, and he wasn't that concerned at first. He thought maybe he told me that he thought maybe he hooked it on a rock or something, and that it must have fallen on the ground and he couldn't find it. But then he started telling me that he could feel it and that something was attacking it, and then he seemed to confess that something had attacked him in the dark. It was a little confused. I'm myself. I don't completely understand what's going on. But you know, if a man had his finger taken by a rat or something, he certainly wouldn't rest until, you know, he wouldn't rest well until he knew that whatever horrid creature had his finger, you know, was taken care of. He has a piece of himself.
Well,
so I don't know. Am I to understand Mr. Zurich is a psychiatrist, an alienist?
Yes. But he's one with the mind.
So maybe he can help him. I don't know.
Maybe. We're a weird bunch of people. Everyone does their own bits and bobs.
Well, he seemed to have some trust in you. He wanted his friend here, so.
Well, does he seem like he's telling the truth, this guy? That's kind of.
I've never known him to lie. I don't see any reason why he would.
Okay. And out of, like, not speaking to out of character, can I do a psych roll on him now?
Sure.
I'm just gonna spend a luck to pass.
Okay.
Just 1 point, and then.
He seems sincere.
Okay.
You can also tell there is he's trying to be very proper, but at the same time you can tell that he's concerned.
Okay.
For Clarence.
Well, it was nice talking to you, David. If I have any other questions, I'll come back to you, but I'll leave you to your.
If there's anything I can do to assist you, please.
Yeah, I'll let you know. And I go find Alfred. I'm assuming he is.
Yeah, you guys are still sitting at the table, I imagine.
Right. Alfred. So, he's kind of saying, I'll relay what he said to me to you, Alfred. So, just to save time. So, you see, what do you think about all that? It's a bit weird.
Well, I mean, I'm based on my interview with Clarence earlier. I will only admit that the story sounds crazy and bizarre, but the man himself seems quite sane. And it takes a professional to recognize the difference, that the words coming out in the story that someone can tell can sound crazy, but the mind underneath is perfectly sane. This whole situation is quite bizarre.
It is,
I mean,
indeed.
everybody is saying the same thing, and sorry, Mr. Buchanan, but it goes with my 3 cards.
Well,
I know it might sound strange.
I'm gonna I don't say anything. I just take a big drink.
I understand it might sound strange to some people. It's just how I feel.
Understandable.
I mean, strange or not, I think you brought up a valid point from Dave, because even if he cannot feel his finger, and I don't believe he can feel his finger, but I can very much relate and sympathize with the fact that it must be hard that some foul creature is in possession of a piece of your body, your flesh. Yeah. And I could very well understand that he would like us to hunt down and kill the rat or get the finger back or something like that, because it's not a pleasant idea.
That's a good point, Garrett. We could possibly, even if we just found if we could somehow kill a rat or something out there, and then bring it back and be like, oh, unfortunately your finger's gone, but we caught the rat.
Exactly. We can just go down to the basement of the local butchery and get a rat and kill it. And
you are welcome to try, but I think that plan will end up failing. I don't think it will be convincing to Clarence, because I don't think that the man is mad. I don't think that somehow he needs that finger back.
Well, leave it to a professional to destroy the good theory of amateurs.
Well, look, how long ago did he get bit? Do we know that?
Couple of days.
Yeah, 2 days.
Right, couple
Maybe
of
maybe
days.
3 days. Maybe 3 days ago.
All
By
right,
the
so
way-
let's say, I mean, a couple of days, he's been gnawing, whatever it is, been gnawing on the finger. By the time we get to it, there's probably not going to be that much left. So that's what I'm saying. Relying solely that you're going to be able to find the finger to physically show him the finger is madness.
Especially if there are rats, because rats, they like to nibble on things, and if there are loads of them, and there's a finger down there, they might have nibbled on it.
Yeah, so
But
get that thought out of your head that we're going to find the finger to bring back to it.
Then
do
let's
have a
go.
question.
Let's go rat hunting, boys.
I do have a question.
I did bring
By
my
the way-
derringer.
By the way, can I throw a roll for can I throw a roll if I know something about possession or something like that?
Sure.
Well, I have a question for Garrett and Edward.
65. What is my? I passed by 5 points. It's not
Okay.
a hard.
Well,
It could
I mean, the idea that there are benevolent spirits that can attack and overpower the mind of a human being and take over their body. There's been a lot of that in human history. So whether it's true or whether it's some sort of psychological defect in humans, who can say? But the effects seem to be the same, that the person becomes convinced that they are possessed, and sometimes a exorcism can convince them that they are no longer possessed. It's been used in psychology before.
I'm gonna tell that to Professor Garrett and tell him you were talking about possession before. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but perhaps not in the same sense that you're thinking of, because I was just saying a possession, like seems possessed with it. Not that he is actually possessed by something, but just his behavior it's irrational. Well, I mean, leave the man some
Just
room
telling that
because
as
he
an
lost a finger.
option. Just telling that as an option, as a last resort, potentially we can try an exorcism. Or I'm just saying.
An exorcism. Well, I'm having a double whiskey and then I'm going
Yeah, I was
to
going
bed.
to say, I'm like, right, that's my cue, sir.
Yeah.
Professor,
I am
before you go
officially
to
going
bed.
to go to bed.
Professor,
Yeah.
before you go to bed, and Edward as well, this is going to be a bit more bizarre. So if you thought possession was a bit bizarre, so Edward, you're into that supernatural bullcrap.
I'm just
don't worry.
saying it could be. I could be wrong by any mean. By any mean, I
Yeah.
could every time I can be
And
wrong.
Professor, you're a man of history. You know you. So, is there anything in your respective fields about giant fucking rats that could gnaw a person's finger?
Does anybody have, I guess, history, but we're using it as lore,
I have
mythology?
natural world.
I have 14 history.
Yeah, I have a lot of history, but not so much lore.
Well, we'll call it the same thing. You can make a roll.
All right. Oh, that's a hard success.
All right. Only thing you can think of is something in German mythology called Das Teufel-Nagetier, the devil rodent. But in the legend, it like haunts families that are troubled. Like if the husband and wife aren't getting along, Das Teufel-Nagetier will come into their house and tear up their things and damage their furniture in their house. But it's usually described as this big.
Yeah, so I tell my friends the story, and of course go on into length about unrelated history, facts, and so on. So it's late at night. So.
Okay, so you don't really know much.
Well, there
about-
is this German rat, but yeah, no, I don't really know. But it's an interesting fact, you must say.
That is pretty interesting, and it's something to keep in the old noggin.
And it's also, if you trash your home while having a drunken argument with your wife, you can always blame the big German rat. So I would say it's
I mean, just saying, from what I've understood about history that I've learned, big animals like rats kept on getting smaller and smaller, so it might be that possibility too.
Like we're talking
So,
about a prehistoric rat.
not really prehistoric, but rather ancient.
I need a whiskey, Jesus.
Yeah, I was going to
Yes.
say,
Yes.
I'm definitely leaving at this point.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
Nick,
would
you
actually like to have a whiskey on the
What have I
well
started?
terrace or outside in the fresh air and a whiskey.
You guys
I
know
need to clear my
prohibition's a
head.
thing, right?
Oh, that's
Not
true.
in the Highlands of Scotland.
Not in the
Yeah.
Highlands, no.
I don't think in Europe.
No,
No,
it
not
was
no.
That was
Uh,
the United States.
We were
Yeah.
okay. It's why they smuggled from us over
Yeah,
to
that's
them.
right, yeah.
There had been, but I don't know when. I
It
don't know
would
when. I
it would
have
be
to
an
check on that.
interesting conversation. What do you mean we can't drink whiskey? What the fuck would we drink? Water? You're disgusting. It's full of germs.
Your strongest whiskey, make it actually give me 3 doubles. Fuck it.
Oh,
We've got some
I
new
feel that in
stuff.
the morning, lads.
We've got some new stuff here. It's an Isla. It's called Lafroig. You'll probably like it.
Then we're
Wha-
having a bottle
whatever,
of Lafroig.
just- I don't care what it is, I just down it.
All right.
Go to bed.
Can we, while we're standing outside in the cool night air, can we see the tower from our location?
Vaguely in the dark.
Do we see anything? Any lights? Anything?
No,
going
there's no
on?
lights. There's no lights
No.
over there.
Hmm.
Alright.
Other than the moon that's
Yeah.
gibbous.
Is it a relatively short walk up the hill? Like,
It's about 100 yards, maybe 150 yards. So
Are you suggesting going up there now after
mm,
dinner?
no. My only concern is that Clarence right now is quiet. David mentioned that, you know, his rants may pick back up in a couple of hours. It was a thought that crossed my mind. I know Liam expressed concern about going up at night.
Alfred,
Oh.
if you want, me and you, and maybe Garrett if he's up, or Edward if he wants to, we could just go for a quick stroll.
We
We
wouldn't
don't
have to.
have to
We wouldn't
go.
have to go in the tower.
No, we could just look around, maybe look around the area, not go in, just to see if we hear anything or see anything out of the ordinary at night, as strange things seem to happen at night up there, apparently.
I agree.
But we don't go in. We need to wait until the morning to see it in the daylight, and then maybe explore at the night if we don't find anything in the day.
Well, we should grab a lantern.
Yeah. I mean, if it's only a couple of 100 yards, then I'll tag along. I'll smoke my pipe. But
Do you think
I
it's
hope
a
it's
waste of our time to knock on Liam's door and see if he wants a late night stroll? Or...
I don't think he'll be. I think he'll want to come. Knowing Liam, he'll be like, "Oh, why the hell are you coming? Why the hell do you want me to come up there with you? Oh my God, I'm not going in there. There could be dangerous things.
They
Little
said
rats
not
will
to go up there at night.
I mean, he
I can
he
hear
did
him
pay
saying
for
that.
he was very kind paying for the tickets, and he got us first class on the train. I think if we're going up there, he should have the opportunity to join us. It's only fair.
Well, you can knock on his door then, Garrett.
Yeah, you know, I will go over there and gently knock on his door.
Right. So Liam, they knock on your door.
Yes, hello.
Liam,
What's up, Garrett? What's up?
sorry did I wake you up?
No, it's fine. I was having a pipe.
So the boys had this rather ridiculous idea about having a walk close to the tower now, in the middle of the night.
I see.
It was not my first choice of after dinner entertainment, but then I was thinking maybe you would like to come along and we can have a pipe and some fresh air would do us well.
And I just sort of and close the door.
All right, guys. I don't think he's coming.
I did kind of warn you, Garrett.
Yeah, I know. But it's with Liam. I always had to try.
Yes, I know. Well, gentlemen.
All right. So you take a lantern and you step outside. And you realize that it's pretty dark. So the lantern casts a kind of orange glow around you. You can see the ground, but the trees and the rocks and the buildings are fairly dark. Not so much as you're in the village, because people have lights on. But you get to the edge of the village, and you can't really even see the road. There's kind of a gravel road that you're on. That it leads forward, and if you continue walking forward, you can definitely see it under your feet because of the lantern. There are some bushes and brambles and things on either side, and that you're going uphill a little bit. The road kind of turns around, and you can see the ruins are on your right-hand side up ahead, and the road turns towards the ruins, and in the darkness you can vaguely make out the shape of them. There was obviously some sort of structure in the center, but there are blocks everywhere, as if they have been flung out from the center, and so they don't really make something you can easily see. They make rough patterns, and as if you were looking at a gigantic pile of rough, sharp, obviously hewn stones. You can't see any details. It's just too dark. And it also looks pretty treacherous because the stones aren't all flat. They're at every angle sticking up out of the ground, and where they have been thrown a couple of hundred years ago. It's a question of whether you want to risk breaking your ankle or twisting your ankle going into the ruins. But you can see the extent of them. It was at one time a fairly large structure, and it extends out ahead of you and to both sides quite largely, with a bigger pile in the middle.
So I want to conduct a little experiment, I say to my friends, and I pull up a tiny piece of meat that I had in my pocket from dinner, and I throw it just a couple of yards in front of us. Now
Okay.
let's see if there's a rat here.
Okay. Do a luck
Good
roll.
idea.
Luck roll.
Everyone be quiet.
Success.
Nothing happens. You wait. Nothing happens. You don't hear anything. You can hear crickets. You can hear the wind, but you don't hear anything crawling around. And realize you're still about 100 feet from the middle of the ruins. Like I say, it would be very treacherous to try to climb in there at night. It makes it think that it would be very easy for somebody like Clarence, if he actually was crawling around in there, to wedge his finger between two rocks and snap it off, or maybe.
Wow. What do you think, gentlemen?
I'm not seeing any animal activity up here. I'm not hearing anything.
But it looks rather dangerous to be stalking around here at night. I mean, all these rocks thrown about, and we don't have proper lighting. I mean, the lighting, but
There are
We get
literally 1,000 places that things could hide.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
We,
I would say we go back to bed and or we go to bed and we check it out in the morning. I mean,
yes.
if we want to see it at night, I agree this is an interesting idea and we could see what he's talking about, but I still think that we should really see the area in daylight and find a safe passage. Maybe we can find a good spot to observe at night, do some preparations. We have some days, I mean, we're not in a hurry.
I think that's a
Okay.
very reasonable assessment.
And also, if
Mm.
we make some marvelous discovery tonight, Liam is never gonna shut up about it. So let's wait for the morning.
We might also want to talk to that Dr. McIntosh, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm. The finger guy.
And there's the church, isn't there? Maybe
Correct.
one of you, or maybe Professor Garrett and Baker, you two are kind of in that field. Maybe you could go check out the church, and then maybe me and Alfred and Liam can go and talk to that.
Yeah, but maybe not now because I had
Not
3
right now,
whiskeys
not.
already, and the church
Not
would
of
not
course.
appreciate that. I would say.
Jesus. No, in the morning, and I don't think Liam would care for us trekking out to go talk to a doctor, and the doctor won't appreciate it
Yeah.
either. But in the morning, in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I'm completely beat this long train journey, and then
You are very tired, yes.
Yeah.
the finger.
Yeah, let's get back
yeah.
to the inn and to bed.
All right. So you all go back to the inn, and we'll assume that you decide that you're going to go to bed. As you are approaching the inn, do a spot hidden roll.
Oh, Jesus Christ. 99, I think I drank a few too many whiskeys.
93, I think is the same thing. I don't really take alcohol well.
Well, I do because I got 03.
Oh, nice. I got a hard success as well.
Okay. Alfred, as you're walking up, you get the very strange feeling that something is watching you rather intensely. You look around, and as you do, you think that somebody on the second floor of your inn is peeking out the window. Professor Garrett, you get the same feeling, and you look up at the inn, and you realize that Liam is looking at you guys out the window, watching what you're doing.
Oh, gentlemen, there's a creep in the window staring at us.
That is a nuts.
And
We've been caught.
He's
you
probably jealous.
you get back to the inn. You go upstairs, and Liam does not open his door. He pretends like nothing has been happening, and we'll say you all end up going to bed. Maybe you have a nightcap. Everyone do power rolls.
Success. Barely.
Humble.
I pass.
I failed.
All right. Those of you who failed, you have the feeling as you're sleeping that something is watching you in the dark. And you wake up abruptly when you hear Clarence in the other room call out in pain the way he's been doing. It doesn't sound unusual. It doesn't sound like something's attacking him. It just sounds like he's going, oh, God, oh, my hand. Those of you who passed, you managed to somehow to sleep through it and get a good night's sleep till the morning.
Jesus Christ.
All right. Next morning comes and you all meet downstairs in the lobby. The proprietor, who, by the way, his name is Cole McKinney, he has breakfast for you. nice breakfast. What would you guys like to do this morning? Clarence has been off and on. You don't see David right now, so David's probably up there taking care of him.
Gentlemen. Well, this, obviously, maybe in the afternoon, we go check out the ruins. But, Liam,
we were doing that this morning.
I just thought we could. There was an idea that we were discussing last night, Liam, that maybe me, you, and Alfred could go over and speak to the doctor who treated our screaming friend, and Edward and the professor here can go to the church and do some research in their records.
I'd probably say Edward's the last person that we should be sending to the church.
Yeah,
Yes,
I would say Edward. I
He
mean,
might
you're a great chap.
burst into flames.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, let's switch that up. I'll go with the professor to the church, and Edward can go with you and Alfred to the doctors.
Actually, that kind of arranged myself because I didn't sleep from the night. I have tired looking place. I felt like a piece of meat tonight. I don't know why.
You felt like a piece of meat.
I felt observed by something. By the moment.
That's strange, Edward. I had the exact same feeling, like I was being watched in my sleep. It was very weird. Very weird indeed.
That's peculiar.
Well, I'm gonna look at the 3 cards I drew at the beginning.
Okay.
So what time is it now, Keeper?
8 a.m.
Okay, well, let's, Professor, let's have breakfast, and then we'll head over to the church.
You're having breakfast.
Yeah, we'll finish this up. You and I will go to the church. These 3 go off to the doctors, and we'll meet at the ruins about midday, around lunchtime.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Now, the doctor is in Hellheim, 10 miles away.
Now, to what end were we wanting to see the doctor?
For the rat bite.
Just to get his view on the situation, Alfred, because he might be able to tell us more about from his medical opinion, what he thought of the whole thing.
Whether it was actually a bite, because he would have seen the wound when it first happened. If it was a bite or if it was a torn off or snapped, or, that could have been.
Right.
I was going to say that Clarence has a very nice car, and Clarence and David are willing to let you borrow the car, so that's not a problem.
Would there be someone in town that would have horses, Tom?
I don't know. Do they use horses in Scotland to maybe farm? I don't know. Yeah, it's not really that kind of farm area, so people do have cars.
Oh,
I'll probably I'll ask the innkeeper if there's anyone that would rent me a horse.
Well, if you want a horse from that time, it's more something like the horse to pull,
like a plow horse, right?
Big ones, not really the one that go fast.
You don't want the car?
I'm not going. I'm going to the church with.
The church is just down the street.
Oh,
you could basically cover this whole town in 5 minutes.
I ride well. I ride well, but I do not drive well.
Yeah. Hellheim would take you a little bit longer to walk all the way around it, but Denval, you could pretty much do it in 10 minutes from one end to the other.
Cool.
All right.
Right, so we finish up our breakfast and head off our separate ways.
All right, so let's see. Who shall we do first? We will do the church first.
Yay.
Okay. Those of you who go to the church, you see that it is the church is the Church of St. Edward, and the name on the thing out in front of the church is Alan Gibson. Reverend Alan Gibson, Minister Alan Gibson. And there's the church, which is a lovely old stone church, actually in fairly good condition. It's obviously old, and there's a side building, probably where the minister lives. You can see smoke coming out the chimney. So what would you like to do?
Should you go directly and to his house, or should we have a little peek around the church first?
Possibly, if the door's unlocked, we could possibly go have a quick look around. We won't snoop around too much, but then we can go speak to the minister, as it were.
Yeah. The doors to the church are open.
So we're just gonna have a look around inside, see if there's anything standing out of place or anything in peculiar.
Not particularly. It's a little bit stark. It looks like possibly when the church was built, it might have been built as a Catholic church, and that eventually it converted to the Church of Scotland, which is, I believe, a Presbyterian. I don't want to say it's a branch because that's probably wrong, but it's very similar, Presbyterian Church of Scotland. So there's no statues or anything like that, but there are beautiful stained glass windows. The church itself looks like it would have taken some money to build this church.
I'm a little bit concerned with all these rumors and the rats and this history of the tower and so on. So I'm gonna have a look around and use my occult skill to see if there's anything pagan, anything sticking out that shouldn't be there, that it seems weird inside. So
go ahead and do your
I'll
roll.
just do a general spot hidden.
I'm definitely gonna go like him because
Edward, you went with the doctor team.
Yeah, I think I was going to the church personally.
Oh, so you wanted to go to the church. So he wants to go to the church.
All right. Sorry, I'm at the doctor then.
Sorry.
Well, you could be at the church too.
No, we swapped because we thought probably not don't send the occultists to the church, but that's fine.
Oh,
I will have gone with the doctors then. That's okay. Miscommunication.
How did you do on the occult rolls?
Oh, I failed.
How about you,
I'm
Edward?
using 22 points of luck to make it succeed.
Don't bother. There's nothing unusual about the church. It's a church. From what, if you guys have been into churches before, looks exactly the same as any other church. Like I say, it's got money, which is kind of maybe a little unusual for the fact that it's in a little country church out in the middle of nowhere. It looks like it would have held a larger congregation, and that there's been some money involved in the church. The preacher doesn't seem to be inside the church anywhere.
But would you say that it's excessive, that it's so well jeweled that it seems strange, or no? It's doing well.
Perhaps it was built in a time when there were more people in Denval, and it was built in a time when there was a little bit of that excessive Roman Catholic opulence. So now it's a little bit less than that, but it's pretty well. You don't imagine that the church in Hellheim looks this good.
I mean, Catholics were like that.
Yeah.
It's
the house of God, so it's pretty. Yeah.
Let's go talk to the priest. But Edward, I must say, I love you dearly, but talking to the priest, you cannot bring up your cards. I mean, this is a conversation stopper. So we need to, whatever, after we leave the priest, you can say whatever you want, but please be a Christian while we're there.
I'm putting my cards in my briefcase, and
Okay.
I close the briefcase, so...
And mind your language, because I know you can't help yourself.
Yes.
So I guess we're just going to walk over to the house of the minister and knock on his door.
All right. So you knock on the door of the minister, and you hear his voice inside. Yeah, it's just a moment. And he comes over and he opens up the door. He says, well, now, we've got ourselves some visitors. What can I do for you? Have you seen the church?
Well, good morning, Minister.
Good
My
morning.
name is Professor Garrett, and this is my good friend Edward Baker. We have actually seen this church. We took the liberty to have a quick look. It's a very beautiful church. Do you have a lot of members in your flock?
Not so many. Most of the people in the town come. Very few don't, unless they're working. They've got their sheep to take care of. But I've got a fairly good congregation. Our people are good people.
It's a God-fearing.
It's a
village.
God-fearing town. Yes.
Nice, nice.
Yes.
And sheep is the main source of income here. Wool
Indeed.
production,
Yeah.
perhaps?
Sheep farming. That's pretty much all that's going on here.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't properly introduce myself, but I am actually a professor of history, and I must say that I got quite intrigued by this structure. You have a ruin. It looks like a tower or some sort of
The Mcdougall
stronghold.
Tower. Yeah.
Yes, the Mcdougall. Can you tell me about this? I'm not familiar with it from my history books, which is very peculiar.
Well, I believe that it was built sometime in the 15th century. The church records probably have all of the details. They keep all of those sorts of things in the church records. As I recall, it blew up one night. At least that's what everybody says. Nothing will grow up there. People think it's cursed, that the devil dances up there, and that there's some sort of evil. I don't know if any of that's true. I think a lot of people are treasure hunters, and they'd like to find out if the Mcdougall fortune is still up there buried somewhere. But personally, I think that it's a bit of nonsense. Fun for the tourists to think about. But
the devil dances.
Well, you know what they say.
Yeah, they say a lot, eh?
I doubt seriously that the devil actually dances.
But I heard that there was a man injured there the other day.
I'm not aware of this, no?
No. I have not been inside. It just looked like quite a rough area, a little dangerous.
It's a bit treacherous. I wouldn't go up there during the night. Very likely you'll injure yourself. You say somebody's injured up there. I'm not really that surprised.
Yeah, they spoke of some rodents or some pestilence, rats. I'm not sure. Is there a problem? Problem?
No.
I mean, don't be offended.
I mean, it's not particularly a problem. Everybody has rats. This is the country.
Yeah, of course.
We do our best to keep our houses clean, and don't have much of a problem here in the church. I got a couple cats that take care of that problem.
The Mcdougall. Do you know the Mcdougalls?
Well, very wealthy family at one point. I think for a while they didn't do so well, but then apparently one of them struck gold quite literally. I think the rumor was while digging a well, and they prospered quite a bit. And then I think they got a funny nickname, the nine-fingered Mcdougalls. Because they all went a little bonkers in their heads. They lost their mind. But I don't know. We could check the church records if you want.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder because I also heard that they were God-fearing people, and the last relative donated some money to the church. Is this?
Yes.
I mean, not to discuss these matters, but
I believe that it was. Liam Mcdougall, who gave a large amount of gold to the church, hence the rather lovely trappings that we still have and the good repair. We actually have a fund that continues to pay for the upkeep of the church. It's lasted that long, but let's go check the records.
Yeah.
So he takes you into a side room, and there are in fact large books and things like that with records in them. over the course of, let's say, the next 2 hours, if you want to search through the records that long, Professor Garrett, you find this information and you're sharing it with everybody, so you can read this out loud. I'm sorry, it's in Drosten's church. I forgot that I named it that.
So this is from the records. Mcdougall Tower was constructed in 1487 in the village of Denval and the village of Denval sprang up around it. The family experienced success in their business ventures and they grew in prosperity and wealth. They were good members of the church and contributed in measures and accordingly. In the mid-1700s, the family's success began to decline. Most of their wealth was gone by 1775. Then, in 1779, during the construction of a well, they literally struck gold. Almost overnight, the family was once again exceedingly wealthy. In December 1781, one of the family members asked the minister to perform an exorcism on the tower to drive out an evil spirit that had plagued them. It is not recorded if the exorcism was actually performed. In the weeks that followed, all 6 residents of the family began showing signs of madness. January the 7th, 1782 records the death of Samuel Mcdougall. January 10th, in the same year, records the death of Mary Mcdougall. Then on the 11th, Grace Mcdougall dies. Then on the 15th, Andrew Mcdougall dies. On the 20th, George Mcdougall. On the 25th, Robert Mcdougall. Ian Mcdougall, the brother of Andrew, returned from abroad. He was deeply disturbed by the death of his family, and at the funeral he announced his immediate intention to move to the newly developed colonies across the sea to make a fresh start. March 9th, in the same year, Mcdougall Tower exploded sometime around 11 p.m. All burnable parts were burned. Ian Mcdougall made a very large donation to the St. Lawrence Church before departing for the United States of America shortly thereafter. October in the same year, it was discovered that the grave of the Mcdougall family was desecrated, possibly by grave robbers. It's a very interesting. They all died within the same month, and quite quickly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, Edward, is it anything else you would like to ask the priest?
I mean, not really. I mean, he already answered all the questions I had for him.
After 2 hours, that's the information that you've gotten out of it.
When did Alfred, Liam, and Xelver said when they would expect to return?
No, that's it.
Oh,
apparently,
midday or something. Yeah.
Apparently, Ian moved to the United States, and that year corresponds to the year that Clarence could find his family's origin in the United States. So Liam apparently didn't tell anybody where he came from. And it took Clarence a while to figure out where he came from.
And what seems to me a bit bizarre is, well, potentially robbers or anything like that. The tower blew up after they got out of it.
It blew up before he left for the United States.
Okay. Sorry, I read it wrong.
And that is to me a bit suspicious because he donates a large amount to the church and then the tower for some reason blows up and he flees the country. So I think it's a peculiar series of events.
Maybe he thought the house was the dormitory was too dangerous, and I don't know. I don't know.
It smells. I think this smells. I would like to ask the priest. Has anyone else been asking to see these records
No,
lately?
they were quite dusty. No, nobody's
Okay.
asked. The only
No,
rumors that fly around is that there might still be some gold hiding in there, but people have picked through the ruins for years, and nobody's ever come out with gold.
All right, Edward. It's getting close to midday, so maybe we should just thank the priest and be on our way up to the ruins.
All right. So let's
That
jump to
seems
the
fine
other.
to me.
All right, let's jump to the others. You drive the 10 miles into Hellheim, and you find the doctor's office. It's not that hard to find. And that is Dr. Dr. McTavish. All right, you park the car, and you go up to you go into the doctor's office. It's basically his house, but it's got an office on one side. Well, what can I do for you, gentlemen?
Dr. McTavish, Alfred Zurich, we're calling about a case that you saw. I believe it was two nights ago. A gentleman would have come in, a Clarence Mcdougall, with a finger injury.
Yes, the young man who'd severed a finger.
Yeah, he's a friend of ours, and we just wanted to find out what happened to him.
Well, how's he doing? Is it healing up okay?
I looked at the wound yesterday, and your sutures are holding. The wound looks great. He's experiencing a lot of pain, though, a lot of phantom limb pain.
Yes, he said that he could feel something nibbling at his finger. Rather strange. I'm sure it's just, as you say, phantom limb syndrome. He seemed rather manic about it, though. It must have something to do with the nerves. It's not every day you lose a finger. Although, to be quite honest, out here in the countryside, with the farmers and the sheep, people lose parts of their body all the time. Maybe not any more than anywhere else, but probably a lot less than in the city, the big city.
In your professional opinion, did it look like some kind of animal bit the finger off, or did it look as if he may have caught it on something?
Well, that's what he said. I would say it was a fairly clean cut. I wouldn't say that it was done with a knife. And I wouldn't say that it was caught on a rock and then yanked off. That would have been quite ragged. He kept thinking that it was some sort of a large rat, but I wouldn't say, there were any kind of bite marks or anything. It was fairly cleanly snapped off. I'd almost say that somebody, it almost looked as if, maybe he caught it in a trap or something, maybe a rabbit trap or a wolf trap or something like that. It snapped his finger off. But no, I would, it didn't look that unusual to me. I don't think we have giant rats, at least not that I've ever heard of.
Well, you would hope not.
Yeah, he was poking around at Mcdougall Tower up on Denval.
What is that? One of the ruins nearby?
It's the ruins just above the Red Boar Inn there.
To be perfectly honest, I've never actually been to Denval. There's a lot of little towns around.
So nothing unusual, basically.
I wouldn't say so, no. Oh, it
just
does.
oh,
You know what? It does remind me of something.
okay, I'm intrigued. Continue.
Well, there's been a couple of ladies, the kind of ladies I mean, ladies of the evening.
Okay.
It seems to me like maybe a month or so ago, I had one of the ladies of the evening come in and she'd also lost a finger.
She had also whereabouts did she lose the
On
finger?
her hand.
Yeah, I know that. I was on about whereabouts did she lose
Well,
the finger?
that sort of profession can sometimes involve a bit of violence. And she seemed rather vague about it, that I don't remember all the details. I'm getting kind of old, but I'm pretty sure there was something in the newspaper about it.
She was coming
Ah.
from Denval.
No, she was from here.
Hmm.
I don't know that she ever went to Denval.
Do you know if we could get a hold of that newspaper anywhere, or
You'd have to look around for it. Maybe there's one out in I think that my secretary, though she replaces them quite often, you'd have to check around town, maybe in a pub or something. You'd find an older newspaper, see what you could find.
Why don't you two go find the paper, and I'll go find the women of the night and interview them.
Of course.
we don't even? What are you going to do, Liam?
I wouldn't recommend. You might get some diseases from them, but
Or lose a finger.
Liam, you're gonna go around like every woman of the night trying to find this specific.
Sir, we don't have that many ladies of the night. We're not a profligate town, but
Exactly.
I've got a few.
I'm just going to question them. Just ask them a few
Let
questions.
me check just a moment. I do have a parakeet that I use newspaper for. Let me check in the back, see if I've got some newspapers. And he goes off into the back. You guys want to talk about? We might go a little over 2 hours tonight, so that's okay.
All right.
We start a little early.
This could be a little bit strange if there are two cases exactly the
Well,
same.
I mean, from what the doctor said, it wasn't a bite.
It wasn't a bite, and it didn't seem to be a torn off from getting caught in a rock. He thought it was a rather clean cut. This is
Well,
not
remember
adding
the
up.
legend. Remember the legend. They said that they all went mad and cut their fingers off.
True.
So I think there's potential that obviously this madness causes them all to go and cut their finger off and then go, oh, it got bitten off and I can feel someone gnawing at it.
Well,
He was adamant. He was adamant that he saw something in the dark that came up and took a bite out of his finger. And it was a masked rat.
Here's the article here, and he hands it to Liam.
Oh, here we go.
The Hellheim Herald.
From the Hellheim Herald, it's a local newspaper. The missing fingers. Police are baffled by a number of bizarre assaults that have taken place over the last few weeks. 4 local women have had one of their fingers removed. A Miss Clara Camshorn has told reporters that she was assaulted by a man while she lay unconscious, but apparently removing her left ring finger and carefully bandaging it up. When she regained consciousness, she was alone in a back alley of Hellheim, not far from where she had met the man. She remembers very little and could not offer the police a description of her assailant. Similarly, Miss Emily Glace, Margaret McCannon, and Moira Singala were all similarly assaulted and deprived of one of their digits. Most of these assaults took place in and around the Pichol district, or an area notorious for its ladies of the evening. Police have added a second patrol of that area. Right, gentlemen, we know where we're headed.
Yes, that is. Well, We definitely need to check there.
A man going around
Jesus.
removing the ring finger, removing and then bandaging up.
I think I might need to make sure I've got my piece loaded if we get into any trouble, if there is
Oh, I've got mine as well.
man
Don't
going
worry.
around. I don't want to wake up in a back alley with a missing finger.
Wouldn't be the first time, Xavier.
Remembering some of my studies of Freud, this man cutting off fingers, sometimes a finger is not just a finger.
I knew that was coming.
This makes me think we're dealing with someone with some childhood trauma and issues. But how could this be related to Clarence?
Well, perhaps he's got some seriously wrong childhood issues.
Or maybe there's another relative around. Or it could just be Clarence.
Or there's David, this David fellow.
He seemed harmless.
Well, he seemed harmless to me as well, but I mean, we've got one guy saying his finger was bitten off, and find out there's just a bunch of people getting their fingers cut off by some madman.
This is going to sound odd, Liam. We're the closest of friends out of all of us, and you respect me, I respect you. But I'm kind of leaning into what Edward said about possession. What if? Bear with me. I don't believe that malarkey either. But what if, let's say, one of the Mcdougall clan or whatever, the ghost is possessing people or something like that? I don't know.
And having them cut off folks' fingers.
Yeah, just replicating what they do.
Right. Let's go to the district with these ladies.
Hey! It's just a theory. And
let's try and get a better description of this man, because then that's going to help us narrow down potentially what we're looking at. Even if we get an average height or something along those lines, that's going to.
All I'm saying, Liam, is Edward will probably say the exact same theory that I was just saying. So you might as well have heard it from me rather than the crazy tarot reading friend of ours.
Yes, but when we were in Harrow, we dropped Edward down the stairs too many times. There's nothing left in there. We've done too much damage.
Oh, don't be that harsh on him.
To the ladies, and I'm gonna walk out of the doctor's office and ask the nearest person to the directions to the district with the women.
After you, Alfred. After you.
You're looking for a massage, are you?
Yes. A happy ending.
All right, so we'll play this last little out and then we'll stop. You head to the red light district. It's probably not got red lights, but it's not much. It's basically a slummier area of the town. It's not what you'd expect in a big city at all. It's actually still rather wholesome. It's basically a couple of houses, and as you approach, at first you don't see much activity. Obviously, the activity takes place at night, and it's only about 10 a.m. But after you are in the area, you do notice at least a woman doing some laundry in her yard and hanging up knickers and things like that on a wire. That she looks a little slutty.
Perfect. Madam, hello.
No thanks, love. Come back later this evening if that's what you're in for, because I just don't got it in me this morning.
No, we're not looking for that at the moment, but we're inquiring about. We saw something in the papers about women with the missing fingers.
She says, "Is that what you're in for, love?" She holds up her hand like this.
Well, we're actually investigators from London. A friend of ours up in Denval has also had his finger removed. So we're looking into this man who seems to have removed all your fingers.
Well, I can't tell you any more than I told the police.
Well, could I possibly take you for lunch or something? Or we could discuss
at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Breakfast then, brunch, whatever you feel like.
Look, love, I got to get this stuff done. You know, I've got a big night ahead of me.
Do
you have a question, or do you want to ask me something, or what?
Do you remember anything about the man? A height, what he might have worn, smelt like? Did he have a beard?
He's a fairly large man.
Okay.
Tall, I mean, not necessarily heavy, but not thin either. Fairly big man. Black hair, big heavy coat, brown derby hat. Seemed like a nice enough fella. But
did he have an accent by any chance?
Scottish accent.
Scottish, okay.
Same as everybody else here except you.
That narrows it down. Yes, of course.
And he says he picked us. She's basically telling you it's pretty much the same story for all of the prostitutes, and they've all talked about it. That he picked them up. They basically were going to go around the block, the back alley or so, and then something whacked them. When they had their backs to the guy, he whacked them across the head, and then they woke up later in the alley, not the same alley, somewhere quite a bit farther away, with their hand bandaged up and a missing finger. And it was always the ring finger.
Does the finger hurt at all? Like, do you, like, I mean, obviously it hurt, but...
Well, I am used to a lot of pain, but yes, there are times when I swear to God I can feel the finger and like something's chewing on it. And maybe you can see that there's moments when she's sort of wincing, but she's very well practiced at not letting her physical pain get in the way of talking to a potential customer.
Well, that's all for now. Perhaps we'll be back later. We'll come visit you and the ladies tonight.
Anytime.
And we might, if you do see any sign of the man, if you do think of anything, if you send word up to the Red Boar Inn in Denval, we'll come a-running. There'll be good money in it.
All right. And I think that's where we will cut for the night and pick this up again next week. All right. So where's my thing? Our players included Simon Benfay, Zane Fleming, Josh Harwood, Grant Dowell, and Magnet Bonecall, with yours truly as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games, and you can learn the finer art of gameplay and game mastering. There is a link below. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month will help us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.